Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here at Earth and Sky. Those of you joining us online, we really love your feedback, your comments, your suggestions for topics, and we love it when you share our videos out with your friends and families, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. We are going to get right into it today with imagination. Imagination is one of the topics I really enjoy a lot. Ever since I was a very young child, I've been very imaginative. I was always daydreaming and thinking up things and visualizing and all of that. And then I was really excited when I was a bit older and I started coming into a more formal training of shamanism. And one of the first things that we talked about on day one was imagination and the importance of being able to imagine. And you can imagine things in a wide variety of ways, but I felt like when my elder shaman said that to me, I was in the right place. One of the books that I would highly recommend to any of you if you're wanting to go a little bit more in depth with this is a book called Creative Visualization. It's a book by Shakti Gawain, is her name, S-H-A-K-T-I, the last name G-A-W-A-I-N. I got her book back in the 90s. It's still a fabulous book, and it really teaches so well about how to unlock imagination. When we learn to tap into the parts of our brain where we imagine things, we're able to really create our lives because we're all imagining things in different ways. When you are trying to figure out a situation or you're thinking about a conversation that you're going to have with somebody, all of those are different ways that we imagine things. When you're thinking about what your dream car would be or where you would like to live when the snow hits in Michigan, those are all different aspects of imagination. Imagination is something that has been cultivated in certain cultures quite a bit and really had a large spotlight on the importance of them. Other cultures really downplay them, and they will tell the youth to, stop daydreaming, pay attention, and things like that, which sometimes causes us to cut off our daydreaming a bit and to cut off that imagination. And it's important, if you feel like you're losing touch with that, to know how to bring it back in, to rein it back in within yourself. There's a quote that I really love by it's one of my favorite authors, Richard Bach. In his book, The Messiah's Handbook, he says, "With every choice, you risk the life that you would have had. With every decision, you lose the life that you would have had you not make that decision." And so it's all in this perspective. We can imagine things and try to put our perspective into thinking about what would you do, what would happen if this happens, and analyze all of the choices around us. But at some point, we're always making different choices and we're making different decisions, sometimes on a really big scale and sometimes on a really little scale. And sometimes we don't even recognize when these little choices that we're making can have a huge impact later on. I was just talking earlier today, I think it was, with my husband about a situation where it seemed very little at the time, but it has grown into a seed that has made a big impact in my life over the years. Imagination is the start of your creativity. Imagination is the start of your goals, and imagination is the start of creating our lives. It's the way that we birth creation into all forms within our lives. Imagination is what it takes to be able to make a decision. Imagination is what it takes to come up with options about what you want to do in your life. And we can imagine things in a whole bunch of different ways. Sometimes people will imagine things by picturing it within their mind and seeing visualizations and really getting this picturesque moment. Other people will imagine things by running through the analysis of all of the concepts behind it and the logic behind it or the science behind it or the risk factors and other mitigating factors behind it. Some people will use their imagination as they delve into a story, reading a story that an author has written with captivating language, and it really draws you into the scenario of other worlds and other places. There are so many things that can stir the imagination. The important thing is figuring out what it is within you that ignites that flame of imagination. What is it within you that can draw up the excitement of imagination so that you can get the bigger picture of what choices you have around you. Everything that you've done in your life up to this point has brought you to the point that you are. And everything that you've done, every choice, big and small, has had an impact in ways that brought you to where you need to be. And you are exactly where you're supposed to be in the moment that you're in. When you gain acceptance of where you are in life, and when you gain acceptance of recognizing that it is okay to be wherever you are, it's okay if you don't like your life right now. The great power is when you accept that, when you recognize it, you see it and you accept it, then you can acknowledge and see all the choices in front of you of how to change it if you want to go a different direction. Or if you just love your life and you're on the path that you want to be on, then you can look at all of the choices that are in front of you to continue to grow on the path that you're on. All of the choices are up to you. And when you allow yourself to spark that element of creativity within yourself, that element of imagination, it opens up so you can see all of the different paths around you so that you can choose. Do you want to continue going down the same path that you're on, or do you want to turn off to the side? If you turn and you go a different direction, what things do you want to imagine will occur? What choices do you want to imagine will come into your life? What coincidences or opportunities do you want to see come into your life? The shamans talk quite a bit about how we write the stories of our lives all the time. We're constantly writing the stories of the past as well as writing our stories of the future. When we reimagine things that have happened to us in the past, we will weave a story around it that's either this was an incident that was so sad and it was so hurtful to me, or it might be that same incident you look at and you think this was an incident that was really challenging and I really found my strength within it, or this was an incident where I lost myself, but through that over time I learned to discover myself, or I learned to accept myself. Our words frame out the imagery that we weave around the stories of our lives every single day. All of the choices that we make, we start weaving the fabric of the stories around. And our stories have a lot of power within them. So when we look back, when you look at your own self-talk, when you really step back and you listen to the stories that you weave in your head, it's important to think about what language are you using to describe yourself. Are you harsh on yourself? Are you accepting of yourself? Are you fearful? Are you excited? What language are you using surrounding yourself and creating the stories? Because even when they're stories of the past, those stories that we're weaving around ourselves are creating the fabric that weaves the tapestry of our lives in the here and now. So think about this week what stories you use, what words you have swirling around in your brain, and imagine what future you want to create for yourself. What future do you want to leave for the generations that will come after us? What stories do you have where you maybe weave some gratitude into those that have gone before us, that have lit the way for us to see what path we want to choose? Really think about what you tell yourself, what stories you tell yourself on a daily basis, because when you do that, when you take that time to go inside and really listen and reimagine the words that you want to use, therein you will find your power. You'll find your quill and your paper to be able to write out the story of your life day by day as you move forward. So really learn to listen, learn to unlock, to open, and to utilize your imagination and the stories that you weave in your life every day. This week, when you wake up, begin to imagine your day before you even do anything, or as you're grabbing your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. Imagine what that day might hold for you. Imagine what you would like to encounter in the day and really just kind of imagine it. Start to imagine your autumn and your winter plans coming up. As we have turned the wheel into fall, we're in the middle of the harvest festival. So what are you able to reap in from all the things that you've done earlier, planting seeds? What have you been filling yourself up with? I know this has been a very, very challenging year for a lot of people, but you can use your imagination as you get ready to plan for the next season. Before we know it, we'll be in winter, which is the season of planning, a prime season for using your imagination and visualizing and getting ready to write the next stories and the next chapter for our life, for your lives, our lives, all of us together in this. I hope that sparks some creativity within you as you think about imagination in the coming week. I look forward to seeing you next week here at Earth and Sky. Have a great week, everyone.